there and say this, is that revival brings change. If I go ahead and say that, revival brings change. Revival brings change. I think when we think about revival, sometimes we personalize that, and there's nothing wrong with that. You think of an emotional experience. Maybe you think of a service that has some intense prayers, or service that just keeps going on, singing songs, maybe people making promises to God, tears being shed. But if there's no change, then there's really no revival. And we know what happened in chapter 8 was genuine. We know what's going on here in chapter 9 is genuine, which is about 3.5 weeks from chapter 8. And so there's still the spirit of confession and repentance and worshiping the Lord. It's like maybe you have told somebody that you went to a conference one time, maybe a retreat. You read a book. You went to a church service, and your eyes were open. Who knows? Maybe the Lord will open some of our eyes today through Nehemiah 9. But it's like a life-defining moment. And somebody asks you, how was the conference? How was that book? How was the service? And I've said this before, all right? And you say, oh, it was eye-opening, all right? It was life-changing. Now, when I say that, probably was, as you say it, it speaks of your aspiration. Like what I just learned, what I just heard, I'm just trying to process that, but it is going to change my life. It's upside down. But it takes time. Right? It takes time to show the evidence or the proof of change. That's why I say revival brings change. And so we shouldn't just think of revival as some emotional experience, some intense prayer gathering, or a very long worship service with a lot of singing, all right? That can be an emotional experience, but revival brings change. And when you experience the Lord's presence in your life, it's not always going to feel good, all right? It's not always going to feel joyful, all right? Because sometimes God is going to show you sin, right? Maybe your sin, maybe the sin of the church, maybe the sin of your community. And that looking at sin isn't fun. It's uncomfortable, it's irritating. But what I'm trying to say to you, people of FBC friends, is this: if you're always excited and joyful about everything the Lord has shown you, then probably you aren't seeing everything God's trying to show you.